Emanuel Steward was a gentleman, soft-spoken, kind, respectful. But inside Kronk Gym, he was something else. A taskmaster, a drill sergeant, a man who demanded perfection. 40 world champions trained under him. Tommy Hearns, Lennox Lewis, Wladimir Klitschko, legends who dominated their eras. But behind closed doors, these champions felt something they never admitted publicly. Fear, not fear of opponents. Fear of Emanuel Steward. Tonight, the truth about Kronk Gym. 5 fighters who were terrified of their own trainer. 5 champions who feared disappointing the man who made them great. This is Emanuel Steward's confession, the fear he inspired. Number 5. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the son of a legend, all the talent, zero discipline. Julio feared hard work more than any opponent, Steward said before he died. 2009. Chavez Jr. came to Kronk Gym. His father sent him to learn discipline. At Kronk, training started at 6 a.m., freezing Detroit winters. No excuses. Chavez Jr. showed up late, complained about the cold, made excuses. Julio was terrified of real training, Steward confessed. He'd look at me during sparring, see my disappointment. And that scared him more than punches. The fear was visible. During hard sessions, Chavez Jr. tensed, not from opponents, from Steward watching, judging. One morning, Julio skipped road work. Steward called him in. "Do you want to be great or just be your father's son?" Chavez Jr. looked down, couldn't answer. He was more afraid of the work than motivated by greatness, Steward said. Eventually, Chavez Jr. left Kronk, back to Mexico, back to comfort. Years later, he fought Sergio Martinez, got destroyed, looked unprepared, everything Steward warned about. Julio wasn't ready for Kronk, Chavez Jr. admitted after. Truth is, he was scared, Steward whispered before he died. Scared of becoming great. Number 5. The fighter who feared discipline. Number 4. Oscar de la Hoya. The Golden Boy, the face of boxing, the fighter who needed Kronk's edge. Oscar came to me because he was losing his killer instinct, Steward remembered. He feared becoming soft. 1999. Oscar de la Hoya hired Emanuel Steward after losing to Felix Trinidad. His confidence shattered, his reputation damaged. Oscar needed to be rebuilt. At Kronk, Steward saw the problem immediately. Oscar was too nice, Steward said, too polite, too concerned with image. He feared being seen as brutal. Steward pushed Oscar harder than anyone ever had. Brutal sparring, vicious combinations, no mercy in training. I watched Oscar's face during sessions, Steward confessed. He was scared, not of sparring partners. Scared of what I was turning him into. The fear came from Steward's expectations. Oscar had been a star his whole career, protected, managed carefully. Kronk didn't care about star power. I told Oscar he had to become mean, Steward said. He looked at me like I asked him to become a monster. For months, Oscar trained under Steward. Won his next fights, looked sharper, more aggressive, but the fear remained. Oscar feared losing himself, Steward admitted. He was scared that if he became the fighter I wanted, he'd stop being Oscar de la Hoya. Eventually, Oscar left, back to other trainers, back to comfort. Years later, Oscar admitted the truth. Emanuel wanted me to be a killer, Oscar said. I was too scared to go that dark. Steward watched the interview, nodded. Oscar was afraid of his own power, Steward said. Afraid of hurting people? That's why he never reached his full potential. Oscar de la Hoya, the golden boy who feared becoming the destroyer. Number 4, the fighter too scared of his own darkness. Number 3, Evander Holyfield, the warrior, 4-time heavyweight champion, the man who bit back against Tyson. But even Evander Holyfield feared Emanuel Steward. Evander came to me broken, Steward remembered, physically and mentally. 2002. Evander Holyfield was declining. Lost to Lennox Lewis twice. His chin was gone. His confidence shattered. He hired Emanuel Steward to save him. At Kronk, Steward studied Evander, watched him spar, saw the problem immediately. Evander was scared of getting hit, Steward confessed. Not before, but now. His body remembered every punch. The fear manifested in training. Evander would flinch during combinations, pull back before exchanges, protect himself instinctively. I had to break him down to rebuild him, Steward said, but Evander feared the process. Steward's method was brutal, hard sparring, aggressive partners, no protection. You have to face what you fear, Steward told him. Evander tried, but the sessions were torture. Every punch landed brought back memories, losses, knockdowns, pain. I watched Evander's eyes during training, Steward said. He was terrified, not of sparring partners. Terrified of me making him relive his trauma. The turning point came in the gym. Steward pushed Evander into a war. 12 rounds of brutal sparring. Evander got hurt, dropped, had to survive. After, Evander sat in the corner, breathing hard, looked at Steward. I can't do this anymore, Evander said quietly. I'm too old for this. Steward didn't respond, just stared. That look said everything: disappointment, understanding, acceptance. Evander feared that look more than anything, Steward admitted. The look that said I gave up on him. Weeks later, Evander left Kronk, went back to Don Turner, back to comfort, back to training that didn't require facing his fear. Evander wasn't scared of opponents, Steward said before he died. He was scared of admitting his body was done. And I was forcing him to see that truth. Evander Holyfield, the warrior who feared one final war. Number 3. Number 2. Wladimir Klitschko, the giant with a glass chin, the heavyweight with everything except heart, until Emanuel Steward made him face his greatest fear. Wladimir was terrified of being hurt, Steward said. That's why he kept getting knocked out. 2004. Wladimir Klitschko came to Kronk after brutal losses to Corey Sanders and Lamont Brewster, knocked out cold both times. His confidence destroyed. When Wladimir arrived, I saw fear in his eyes, Steward remembered. Fear of being hit, fear of going down again. The problem was mental. Every time an opponent threw a big punch, Wladimir tensed, anticipated pain, prepared to fall. His body remembered the knockouts. I told Wladimir we had to reprogram his mind, Steward said. He had to stop fearing punches. The training was psychological warfare. Steward brought in heavy hitters, made Wladimir stand and trade. No running, no clinching, just absorb and respond. Wladimir's face during those sessions, Steward confessed, pure terror. He feared me more than the sparring partners, because I wouldn't let him quit. One day, Wladimir got dropped in sparring. Hard right hand. He went down. The old Wladimir would have shut down, but Steward was watching. Wladimir got up, saw Steward's eyes. That look, the look that demanded more. Get back in there, Steward said calmly. Wladimir's hands shook, but he did it. Faced his fear. Survived. That's when Wladimir stopped being scared, Steward said. Not of punches, of disappointing me. For years after, Wladimir dominated, never got knocked out again, became the most dominant heavyweight of his era. People ask what I did to fix Wladimir, Steward said before he died. I didn't fix his chin, I fixed his fear. Made him more afraid of quitting than getting hit. Wladimir Klitschko, the giant who feared his trainer more than pain. Number 2, the fighter who conquered fear through fear. Number 1, Tommy Hearns, the Hitman, the Motor City Cobra, Emanuel Steward's greatest creation, and the fighter who feared him most. Tommy was like my son, Steward said before he died, and sons feared disappointing their fathers. 1977. Tommy Hearns walked into Kronk Gym, skinny, hungry, raw. Steward saw something nobody else did, a killer. For years, they were inseparable, trainer and fighter, father and son. Steward built Tommy from nothing, taught him the jab, the right hand, the killer instinct. But with that bond came fear. Tommy feared my silence more than anything, Steward confessed. After fights, he'd look at me, waiting for approval, for a nod, for anything. The fear wasn't physical, it was emotional. Tommy feared letting Steward down, feared not being good enough, feared breaking the bond. 1981. Tommy fought Sugar Ray Leonard, lost in 14 rounds, heartbreaking defeat. After the fight, Tommy sat in the locker room, crying, not from losing, from seeing Steward's face. "I let you down," Tommy said. Steward didn't respond, just hugged him. Tommy carried that fear his whole career, Steward said. Every fight, he fought for me as much as himself. Fought to keep my respect, my love. Years later, Tommy admitted the truth. "I was never scared in the ring," Tommy said. "But Emanuel's disappointment? That terrified me." Before Steward died in 2012, Tommy visited him. Hospital bed, final days. "Did I make you proud?" Tommy asked. Steward smiled. "You were always my champion." Tommy Hearns, the greatest fighter Emanuel Steward ever trained. The son who feared his father's disappointment more than any opponent. Number 1, the fear born from love. "Tommy didn't fear me because I was hard," Steward whispered before he died. "He feared me because he loved me." That's the deepest fear of all. 5 fighters who feared Emanuel Steward. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. feared discipline. Oscar de la Hoya feared his own darkness. Evander Holyfield feared facing his decline. Wladimir Klitschko feared getting knocked out again. Tommy Hearns feared disappointing the man he loved. 5 different fears. But one truth. Emanuel Steward didn't create fear through cruelty. He created fear through standards. Which fighter's fear do you relate to most? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want more untold stories about boxing's greatest trainers, hit subscribe. Because legends aren't born, they're built through fear.